We talked about variables. So variables are these little containers where we can put data that we can then use this data and do computation, right, in our classes and our programs. So that's solid there. There are times when we need to have a bigger bucket where we can put items that are similar. So that's when arrays come to place. So arrays in Java are essentially a container, right? Think of an array as a container where we can put elements inside of this container. This will be our container, and inside we have these little elements where we can put items of the same type together, right? The beauty of arrays is that we can then index those elements, right? So as you can see here, they are indexed. So the first element in our container will be 0, the second 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So everything starts with 0. So in Java, this is what an array is. So it allows us to create this bigger container, and inside of this container, we can put smaller elements, which we can then point each element to an index. So then now we have an ID to where if we want, for instance, the first item, this item 0, we can just go and fetch that index, and then we will get the item inside of that element. All right, so now let's go into code so I can show you exactly how to construct an array and put data inside of these arrays. All right, so let's talk about arrays. How do we construct arrays? So again, we said that arrays have to have the same type of elements. So if we create an array of strings, that means we are saying all we want to put in our big container, this array, all of the elements need to be string. Okay, so arrays have to all have the same type. All of the elements need to be of the same type. So let's say if we want to create an int array, so we say int, we put this square brackets there to signify that we want an array, and we put a name of this array. So we can say int square brackets are ints is equal, and then here we put our squiggly brackets, right? And inside here we're gonna put, for instance, 2 comma 4 comma 5 comma 8. Let's say. See? So now what we did here, we say we want to create an array of type ints. So we call this array R_ints. And we gave values to this array. So we gave 2, 4, 5, and 6. So in the 0 index, we have 2. In index 1, we have 4. Index 2, we have 5. And 3, we have 8. Well, if we wanted to retrieve the value in the index inside of an index 0, which is going to be 2, we simply say system.out println, and we can go ahead and say we're gonna call the name of the array. So array ints, enter, and we have our square brackets, and then we put 0. What we're saying here is that okay, we want to retrieve what's in index 0. Okay, so if we save this and run, we see 2. Okay, so if we want to go ahead and see what's on index 3, save this, there's 8, right? Because 0 is 2, 1 is 4, 5 is 2, and 8 is 3. There we go. So how do we loop through our array here, right? If we want to go ahead and display all of them systematically in a loop, how do we do that? We should know that our array needs to have a length. Okay, in fact, if we go back here in our system.out, if we go say array.ints, we notice we have this method here that returns an integer, right? It says length. Array.length. The moment we save and run, we should see 4. What does that mean? Well, that means we have 4 spots. We have 4 elements, which is true. So that is the length of our array. The length of our array is how many spots, how many elements are inside or can fit inside of our container, our array. In this case, it's 4. It tells us we have a way in which we can loop through all of these numbers, all of these items or elements in our array. So what we can start doing, we can say for, we still have a for loop, and look at this. Our Eclipse even gives us this wonderful hint here. So it's saying we have 4, we have our initializer here, int 0, I is less than array.length, I++. So let's click enter, and we have everything there. Okay, so again, our initializations here, we start at I is equal to 0. We're saying if I is less than array that length, so I is less than the length of this array, in this case it's 4, we're gonna loop through until we get to the end. So if we take this and put inside here, okay, and get rid of this, we can say item number. Okay, so we're going to loop through and say I and save. We should see how many times this array going to loop. It should be 4 times. So let's run this. There we go. Item 0. So it goes 4 times. So 0 time, 1 time, 2 times, and 3 times. Now, what if we want to actually, as we loop through, we want to see or show or display what is inside of each of these containers? What are those elements? Well, simple enough. What we can do, we can call our array ints, okay, and pass inside here the I, which is our loop control here. So the first time goes through, goes 0 into 0, and 0 is less than 4, which is the length of this array, right? It's true, and so it's going to increment, but when it does that, it goes in, and as it loops through, it puts 0 inside of our array ints here, array, right? And of course, shows us the 2, because we're saying here at index 0, show us what it's at index 0. Well, in this case, it's 2. Let's go ahead and save that. And does the same thing until this condition is no longer true. That's when it breaks. So let's save this and run. Let's see this, and there we go. 2, 4, 5, 6. The same way we can do with integers, we can also create arrays of strings. So we can say string, right, are strings. Again, we go ahead here and say Jonah. Those are my sibling names. Arão, Inês, Olga. Yes, I do have a big family, and that's not even all. Okay. All right, so that should be enough. So now we have an array of strings here. That's right. We call R strings. So we can do the same. Okay. So here, let's go ahead and create another for loop. We can say for, iterate over an array, R strings. Look at that. It's all great there. And we can say system dot out dot println my siblings, and we can say R strings. All right, there we go, and we pass in our I. Okay, so we save this. Let's run. Okay, there we go. So we have Jonah, Arão, Inês, Olga, and Fina. Let me make this a little bit over there. There we go. So we have Jonah, Arão, Inês, Olga, and Fina. And of course, we're still running our previous one as well. And of course, and you probably guessed, if you want to create an array of, for instance, of booleans, right? You can do the same thing. We can go ahead and say boolean, okay? Say R bools, right? Again, we are going to create an array here. So we know booleans are true and false. So say true, false, true, false. Can only have too many trues and too many falses. All right, so let's go ahead again here at the bottom here. You probably noticed now, say for, iterate array here. We can go system that out, that print, trues, output, for the lack of a better word here. So we can say R bools, and let's go ahead and I. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. Save, and there we go. Output true, false, true, false. This is how we create arrays, how we assign items inside to our arrays, right? We have different types, of course, here. And how do we iterate through our arrays as well, okay, using a for loop. Okay, it's pretty fun. So go ahead and play around with this concept, and I'll see you in the next video.